Welcome to my living room. Today we're going to be working on a project to custom build a small unit for this corner. I call it the wire graveyard. Also, it would be nice to have something a little bit higher so that we can rest the plant lamp, as well as potentially having an area for, putting down a coffee or what have you. So I'll show you what I have in store. So these are the 4 drawers I found by the side of the road. Actually, there were more, but these are the only 4 with the correct hardware that I like. I'm going to clean these drawers up, and what I'm going to be building is the case around these. And so I'll show you the drawing for what I have in mind. This is basically it. I want it to be long and narrow so that it can fit beside the arm of the couch, and to be about the height of the arm of the couch as well, so that I can place things atop it. Cautionary tale about this project. I've already spent probably $110 on materials, and maybe even a bit more than that. So definitely this isn't a money saver. So now that I have all my wood and everything, I like to use this laminated pine board because I'm going to be painting it anyway. And as you saw, wood is very expensive. So if you're not going to be doing something super fancy with it, then that works great. And I've done a piece like this before with drawers that I found, and the measurements are so key so that the drawers aren't floating, like they have to perfectly fit in place. My piece is just slightly longer than the drawers, which actually works out well because I want there to be, a bit of an allowance. And I don't know if you can see this, but it sticks out a bit. So I have to put pieces as stoppers onto this board. And as with all the projects I do, I really visualize it coming together prior to, so I can work out some of the kinks. And instead of putting pieces all the way across between the drawers, I'm just going to be cutting this 2 by 3/4 to be my little spacers between the drawers. So I'm going to use that actually to make my measurements to ensure that I'm doing the correct thing. I'm going to draw a line all the way across the bottom. And one of my limitations is that I'm always only using a radial chop saw. If I had a table saw, there's a lot more that I could do, but this makes it so that pretty much anyone who has a chop saw can do this. So I'm going to be doing that, and then I'm going to be laying the drawer right up against that line so that I can see almost exactly, the distance between this and the next slat that I'm going to be putting between them. And this is a good guideline. Now, obviously I want a tiny bit of space so that I can ensure that it can come in and out easily. But continuing this process, I'm going to be doing lines like that all the way up so that I know exactly where I need to cut these 2 pieces in half, and I'll be doing the exact same thing on the other side. So I'm at my last measurement for this side. Super important that I make sure the front is flush and that everything's lining up properly. I'm drawing a little line on the back of the shelf or drawer so I can see where I have to put a stopper. And then when I line it up, I also triple check it, because this is it. Now the measurements are the most important part. I draw a guideline here, but these drawers were designed with a slope at the back, which is smart. So I take my square and I line it up to the top straight edge so that I can ensure that I'm getting a straight line, especially since this last line is actually what I'm going to be using as my cut line. So I'm going to be drawing a line here. Okay, and then I want to have one final edge piece at the top so that it's all uniform. I'm lining that up perfectly. This is what the edge piece is going to be made of. So as long as I stick to that, I make a cut right across there, and then I have 2 exactly equal sides. I'll be doing the same thing I did to this side once it's cut in half. I'm now cutting the separators for between the drawers. Always really important to check the piece to make sure there's a little bit of allowance on either side so that the drawer can easily slip in and out. And even though I'm painting this, I just sanded the edge down just a bit. Actually, not on this one because this is my measurement piece, which brings me to a point. When you measure and you draw a line, it already is slightly bigger than this piece. And so I always use the same piece to measure to make sure they're all exactly the same. And again, I just wanted a little bit bigger than the drawer size so that there's no resistance when it's slipping in and out in case the wood swells. So my saw has a laser, but still I want to make sure that the blade teeth are lining just right at the line and not on the line, because the blade width is going to take a bit off of it, and for this it has to be pretty precise. So you can see I'm going to get it a bit closer but still to the outside of that line. These are as perfect as I can get them, so that they're exactly the same. So essentially spent a lot of time measuring and re-measuring. I also cut these pieces. These are the railing pieces for the drawers themselves. Right here I have the mirror image so I can make sure all my lines match up. And what I'm going to be doing is taking 3/4 inch nails and hammering them in to these so that the drawers can slide easily on there. Remember, I have to leave an allowance for the spacers. This is obviously not cut yet, it's a long one. So yeah, hopefully it will all be seamless and we'll see what it looks like in the end. So I bought glue specifically for this because I knew the other one was somewhat dried out, and I've spent half an hour looking for that glue. Most of the project's been looking around for wood and for glue, etc. I was very frustrated, but I ended up mixing the somewhat dried out one with water, and away we go. So this maybe gives a better idea. I've now put the rails in, and at the back, I'm going to cut this to make a small stopper. It's really important that it's right precise so that the front is as flush as possible. And I'm going to be doing the same thing to the other piece of wood. I wish I could have shown what I had to do here. However, it already was very excessive trying to balance it and put the clamps and put a bit of glue. So here is the somewhat finished product as far as what I need to do to put the slats in, the spacers, and I'll do the same at the back. But because I only have 2 of these clamps, I'm going to have to do a little bit at a time, which is fine because it's getting to be a lot. So this is what it looks like, and I'm also nailing it from the side. It's going to be painted, and also you can't see it beside the couch. So far, so good. It has a weird shape. I'll show you. The drawer fits, but there's just like slight gapping, almost like a parallelogram. Anyway, at least it fits, and so far, so good. So now I've turned it upside down, and I'm putting on, oh my god, a squirrel just ran by. I'm distracted. I'm laying it upside down, and I'm adding the bottom. This piece of wood is way too nice for this, but it's been in the shop. It's been in the garage forever, and I just, it's the perfect dimension. So, and it fits really well. So I'm going to be gluing this and also nailing it in. And we're getting pretty close to sanding and painting, people. So far, so good. I've put these braces across the top so that when I put the top piece on, I can drill from underneath to hold it on so that the top doesn't show any screws, because I'm planning on doing a copper, we'll see if it works, but a copper detail on the top piece. So now comes the sanding. And I like to do it outside just because it does cause a lot of dust, and I will be wearing a mask. I I probably shouldn't mention this because it's probably only visible to me, but it's just slightly askew. I think it was when I put this crossbar on. It's on the line, but any hoops, still better than, well, it's not better than buying because honestly it costs more than buying one probably. Anyway, I'll be sanding it, and then I'm actually going to be mixing my own paint because I'm going to do this in a brown. And I don't have brown, and I refuse to buy anything else. So here we go. So now that it's sanded, I am just going to vacuum it up before I paint it. But this is the back piece, the back panel. I'm waiting to put it on because I need access from underneath to be able to drill the top so that the top does not have any screws going in through the bottom. So I'm going to paint this piece as well while it's off. And then when I nail it in, I'll just touch it up afterwards. Again, most of the cabinet's actually not visible because of the couch, but anyway, still going to do it properly. So I am going to attempt to mix paint. I have latex paint and acrylic, which I know works, but we'll just determine whether this idea was dumb or smart later. But I do want some kind of brown because I just realized gray wouldn't work, so I'm going to try it. All this, how do I say this? Definitely should have known better because I do the same mistake all the time. Added too much white in the first place, and now of course I hate this color. It's like a weird taupe, like I've rendered it useless. And the worst part is I don't have a vehicle right now to go get paint. Yeah, so I probably am gonna just go buy brown paint, which is kind of like now what I have in mind, and I don't want to compromise that. And the only thing I can do to save myself right now is just throw this in the garbage. So what a waste. A few factors have led me to go with the paint. I've continued to mix it, and all the stores are closed today because it's holiday Monday. And under advisement of others, it's been decided we are going to use it. And even though I'm not 100% happy with it, I'm also not 100% dissatisfied with it, so we're going ahead. I hate it, so I've been left no choice. I'm gonna have to go buy paint because this is not it. This is not it, y'all. Also, when I think of how little paint it actually took to cover it, safe to say I could have pretty much had any color I wanted. So after a trip to the dollar store, I now have the same color brown I had in the house in the first place. And I guess it goes without saying that I'm going to have to take a break from this project for a little bit. Yeah. I am much happier with how it looks now. It's not dry yet, but I'm going to have to do a clear coat once it's dry. With just a clear spray just to protect it. We're gonna clear coat this, and this handle is the best thing you can buy. It's so awesome. The bottle is turned the wrong way. Make sure the nozzle's pointing out. So this is a giant, expensive piece of wood that's been in my garage for like 10 years. I would never normally use pressure treated, huge lumber like this, but this is what the top is going to be because it's going to be one solid piece, and I'm going to be covering it with that copper tape that I told you about. And so here we go. Now that the top's been sanded, it's ready for the tape, and we're going to see if it works. It's much nicer sanded, but luckily I didn't have to sand it all the way down. So I've never done this before, but I could say that for a lot of things, and that's never stopped me. So what we're going to do is use this copper tape. I actually have used the thin version of this in crafting, and what I want to do is basically wrap this with the tape. And then we're going to see if it gives the appearance of kind of a copper top. So the first part's going to be important because I want to put it along the outer perimeter. So I'm just going to measure it. Obviously try not to waste too much, but for these first pieces, I guess we'll just go with it. Okay, and it does have a paper backing, and only about, actually maybe I'll start off. Only about 1/4 inch is going to be showing. So I just want to make sure that at least that part of the bottom is covered. It really is cool to have thin copper like this though. Okay, so about 1/4 inch. I'm gonna use it as straight. Oh, if it isn't just sticking on itself, of course it is. Okay, so I'm gonna put that down. I mean, I don't mind how it looks minus this crinkle, but the first piece definitely needs to wrap at least to the top so that I can keep layering it back. So that's done. And then my tripod also broke, so now it's just whatever. I like when things are perfect, and this will never be that, but I do think it's a cool look. Like, I'm looking forward to seeing it done. I am loving it, but this is an opportunity, or should I say a lesson. When waste comes back to haunt you, I did throw some out, and now I'm short. So this is what the piece looks like. It's interesting. So I'm going to be drilling through these top pieces, and then that's what I'm going to use as holes for drilling up through the bottom into the top. Me drilling the base into the top. I found these off another piece. They were extras, and I'm drilling holes, screwing them in like so. Just gonna nail the back on. Again, a few small mistakes, but I'm over it. Good from far, but far from good. I was a bit discouraged while making it, but my final review after taking a few days away from it is that I like it. It's functional. I found this plant stand in my daughter's room that adds to the space, so I'm happy with it.